What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Sports Talk on Tap video. We're here. You can find daily videos Monday through Friday covering all the four major sports leagues, whether it be NFL, MLB, NBA, or NHL. We're here to talk games, highlights, news, all that fun stuff. And Nick, the NBA season is probably going to be at it's not really even at a dry point, as we have Team USA getting a huge dub yesterday over Serbia and Nikola Jokic. Obviously, Nikola Jokic doesn't have the help, but for a quick recap on that, Chef Curry dropped 24. Bam Adebayo made a huge impact. LeBron was calling him another splash bro. I believe he had like 18 points or something like that. Anthony Edwards, my dog, was 16 points as well and a nice little dunk. So big win for Team USA after it seems like these first couple of games, Australia, that game was low-key close until the very end. So credit to Australia for that. But Serbia was up about like a quarter and a half in, but then the USA kind of pulled away right before half and kind of never looked back to win by like 30 points. So, it was good. Obviously, the chemistry still isn't there, but one recommendation, Steve Kerr. I don't know what you're doing, but I don't know why Joel Embiid is continuing to start. Even Sixers fans would tell you he's not playing well right now. He doesn't seem to quite fit in. He's having trouble adapting to these FIBA rules. So until then, I'd have the order of centers go AD, Bam, and then Embiid. Obviously, that's not how I would take it in the regular season of NBA, but this isn't the NBA. This is a different kind of hoop and basketball session. So, I kind of, think until he learns to adjust, he's low-key been the third best center on the team. So, it's nothing crazy because AD and Bam are both really good players. But until they can kind of, develop, I think for now you just got to roll your best players if you want to be, if you want to win gold when, the time gets rough and real games are underway and the Olympics start in Paris. But, that's just me. But with that being said, obviously, but we obviously kind of have been talking about teams throughout this offseason, Dallas Mavericks, kind of a lot of contenders, what they need to do to, take that next step or something like that. But a team I want to talk about today is a team that is a very intriguing team heading into next year. They finished bottom of the Western Conference this last season, but still arguably the best team to finish last because, boy, this team was fun to watch. And towards the end of the year, they really had some impact wins. I just remember that comeback win against the Nuggets. They even beat my Timberwolves one time. They've had a very underrated offseason, I think. In the draft, they had Stephon Castle, great defensive guard, and if his shot continues to grow, he can be an immediate impact player. He's going to be a starter, I believe, for the Spurs team. And they have the help of learning by the most interesting free agent off-season signing, in my opinion, which was Chris Paul to the Spurs. Not because it may have the biggest impact, like a trade for like the Paul George, but it may. Chris Paul, wherever he's gone, has been known to elevate teams. Nick, we obviously knew what he did in his Hornets days. Those were fun. He immediately went to the Clippers, helped them elevate to that next level. And then I know if you remember this one year, the bubble year with the Thunder, that team was supposed to be really bad. They were supposed to not even make the playoffs, but Chris Paul elevates them to a top 5 seed after losing Russell Westbrook and Paul George. They're right in the playoff mix. They go to a game 7 with the Rockets. They're almost in the second round. And he kind of, I believe, helped start the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander development. And then where he goes next, Phoenix, first year, immediately brings them to the finals, 2 games away from a chip. Next year, 1 seed, 60-plus wins, and just built them into a playoff team. And I know, he hasn't gotten the job done, winning a ring, but he's still been one of the best point guards of the 2010s, kind of do it all, mid-range sniper, passing, He in his athleticism back in his Hornets days were unreal. But now he goes to San Antonio with a young team to try and help develop alongside Wemby, Stephon Castle, these other guys like Devin Vassell. And Nick, I'm very curious because obviously Wemby made his mark on the league, winning Rookie of the Year unanimously. But kind of, how do you think were some realistic goals for the Spurs heading into this next season, and what do you think they're going to be this season?
I'm like, I know you talked about it, and I think I'm a huge fan of this move. I think it's gonna help the Spurs a lot more than some people think. I might be higher on the Spurs just because I'm high on Wemby, but I think you just talked about how Chris Paul elevates, and I've seen, I'm sure a bunch of people have seen the, winning percentage statistics before and after Chris Paul shows up to a team, no matter how good or bad they are. I think this could make them a potential play-in team, and I know that's wild to sound or wild to say when
Even a stacked West, I don't know if it's crazy, but yeah.
yeah, with as bad as they were last year, defensively, and Wemby pretty much being the only like shining point, silver lining on the team. That's a pretty big silver lining, but when you have a potential best player in the league in 4 or 5 years, but I think this move is gonna shoot Wemby's development sky high. I think obviously he developed like crazy this year, winning Rookie of the Year. He was still great, but having a guy like Chris Paul who's just gonna he knows his role there, and it's gonna be feed Wemby, just feed Wemby, get 10 assists a game by just lobbing the ball up to him. Chris Paul's a very smart basketball player. He's a savvy veteran. He's very respected. So I think, and it's gonna help a guy like Stephon Castle too, who's just coming into the league. He can also guide him. So I think like this is a perfect move for the Spurs because they weren't gonna go out and try to buy every big name they can and try and win now. They're not trying to rush the process. They know what they have in Wemby. He's still, is he 18 or 19 years old?
I think he was 19 this past season, so he'll be entering age 20 this upcoming season.
Yeah, he's entering age 20, and who knows what kind of leap he's going to take with a player of his size and athleticism who can shoot the three ball. I won't be surprised if he jumps from, what did he score, like 20 points a game this year? If he jumps to like 25 points a game, I won't be surprised. He'll still probably be up there in like 3 blocks per game like he was doing this year. So,
he's going to be leader in blocks,
mm-hmm.
And I think when I look at Wemby's development specifically, because that's what matters most to Spurs right now, like he's touched on,
right.
Winning, is a number one priority right now. But when you bring a guy like Chris Paul, winning just happens naturally, especially in the regular season. But you look at where Chris Paul has gone. DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin had their best years with Chris Paul. DeAndre Ayton, big man, had his best years with Chris Paul. And kind of when Chris Paul wasn't in the lineup, you saw how DeAndre Ayton was super affected. And I'm not saying, Wemby's DeAndre Ayton because Wemby obviously is more talented, but DeAndre Ayton was the number 1 overall pick, and he elevated with Chris Paul. And, I think I'm expecting something similar. I think the pick and rolls will be really good. Even with Chris Paul's age, I think the biggest thing will just be his, health. Can he be on the court to help develop? Because you can only do so much from an off the court thing when you're not actually on the court helping out. But, just kind of be like that floor general and just kind of help mentor as, he ages out. Because, I think I saw this on a basketball podcast, the Deep 3 podcast, where someone talked about how this is probably the best thing that Chris Paul could do for his legacy wise, instead of, chasing a ring, going to like the Warriors or, even though they didn't even do well last year, but, going to a team that, just trying to win at this point. I think his best thing will do to just make him end his career. Like if we see them make the play and take that leap, Chris Paul will always be remembered as a super impactful player. And that's what he has been. I think this is a great opportunity for him and a great team to pick from because it is a team that very much is on the rise. Probably even if they didn't, sign Chris Paul, I think just adding Stephon Castle, they'd obviously go through a lot of bumps, but, Wemby entering the second year, just a second year of this team, adding more talent. I think it would have been a progress already, and just adding someone like this, the clear veteran in the room. I'm excited to see what they do. And I think, even in a loaded Western Conference, Nick, if you told me, if you made your predictions or maybe, we don't have them in, but if someone were to tell me at the end of next year, the Spurs were like the 10th seed, I could say, yeah. I mean, would I be totally shocked? No. Do I think it's likely to happen? Probably not, but I think their win total will definitely at least jump in somewhere into 30 range, 30 plus. So, I'm very excited to see what they do. And it should be exciting because at the end of the day, Wemby, we already talked about his year 1 impact and just the the stretch he had the second half of the year was unreal. And, he made a push for Defensive Player of the Year, finished second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. So next year, is he already going to win Defensive Player of the Year? That'll be something to look out for, And will the team around him, when you add a guy like Stephon Castle, that's great on defense, that will just give him more help in the court. So the Spurs will have a better overall defense to, help his case, in that scenario, because finishing second as a 19-year-old is crazy, in my opinion. I mean, makes you wonder, Nick, what we're doing, out here at 21, still grinding and just talking.
Weren't born 7'4".
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, a couple pairs of socks. But yeah, no, very, very impressive stuff. But yeah, Spurs are definitely kind of one of the more interesting teams. But I'm curious, when we do our NBA Western Conference, predictions, where you kind of have them, because it might be a hot take, it might not be, but that's the impact CP3 has, and he's pretty much done everything in his career besides win that one ring, which is such a shame. But at the end of the day, it happens. Some of the greats, just don't win one. So I think he's kind of chasing his legacy, more than a ring, which I respect now.
Yeah, I love that you said that about how this is the best thing for his legacy, is to not go to one of these top Western or Eastern Conference teams and just ride the bench, play 15 minutes, and get a ring that way. Instead, he's setting his mark as, I'm going to be one of the key pieces in potential top 5 player in the league's development in the next few years. Like if Wemby in 2 years, is averaging 29 and 15 a game and is getting all these MVP votes, Chris Paul can say he was a part of that development. That's something that these guys should, be proud of, that you help these young guys become what they are. Because as good as Wemby is, like, as naturally talented, and as much as he's going to develop regardless of who's around him, like, it's going to help him so much more. Like, he does still need that leadership around him, just to know how to carry himself, because he's still so young. And I do love his, like, mindset. We always see him in quotes, like, really the only thing he cares about is winning, which is what you love to see in a young player. So I'm so excited to see this team. I love watching Wemby play, just because, like, it's so cool to see somebody, 7'4", pulling up, dropping 5 threes, 5 blocks. Like, I will not be surprised if at one point in Wemby's career he has a quadruple double. Like, I feel like it's coming.
That would be crazy. But yeah, it'd be one for the memory books. And yeah, Wemby, if that 3-point shot can just keep getting better like it did at the end of last season, that will be something very intriguing to watch, because he's, like you said, a 7-foot freak that everyone loves, and he's already cherished by the league. But poor the other French big man, poor Rudy Gobert, gets hated on by the league. So I'm a little.
He's the reason COVID happened. So
whatever. But I'm just glad the voters of whatever had the respect to put Gobert the DPOY, because the Wemby push was legit, but it should have never been a conversation for who's.
Gobert led the best defense in the league. So it's tough.
We remember where you voted, so I don't forget.
I was pulling for Wemby. Just maybe it was partially because I was just trying to hate on you, but
Yeah, that saying that you gotta have haters to be on top. So me and Rudy are thriving in life right now.
If you got haters, you're doing something right.
Exactly. Because if everyone likes you, Wemby, maybe at some point, but who knows? Maybe that some point comes when Wemby,
once he starts winning, people are going to start hating him.
Yeah, then that's when it is, I think, because right now everyone loves you. You're kind of that great story, last place. You're going to move up. But then once there are realistic expectations, and then there's a game where he folds, they're going to be, Wemby to the Jejuan Dragons today. So, it should be very interesting to see kind of, that's also a huge part of this. The media loves him right now, but how much will that continue as the pressure continues to grow on him, and when will, the hate come? But, for now, Spurs fans, just embrace it. You're loved. You made some great moves. This team will be very exciting to watch. So just kind of enjoy the ride as long as Chris Paul can stay healthy, because that is the biggest thing probably that I'm more worried about for the Spurs than on the court. play necessarily. But with that being said, let us know in the comments what you guys think about the Spurs upcoming season. Are they a dark horse playing team, or will they kind of, take some steps but not quite be there? Because we're always curious to get your guys' thoughts. But, should be a very exciting team no matter what, and definitely a team to watch out for this next upcoming season. But as always, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, and we'll catch you next one. Peace.